Instead of saying World War III is coming, we'll do this. Yahoo.com says, American Express follows Visa and MasterCard in exiting Russia.
Wow.
So now Amex, Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal are all shutting down services in Russia. In response, Russia is announcing they're going to be partnering with Chinese Union Bank for the Mir card network, which does operate in many countries. So we're now seeing a fracture between two major economic blocs, and no war will come of this. No hyperpolarization, no conflict. Everyone's going to come together and the competition will be healthy for everybody. Russia will eventually come and shake hands with the West and say we're all richer and better off for it. And that's what happens.
Oh, yeah?
Nah, fam.
So? Yeah, I don't think so. No.
But everybody gets mad when I say this stuff is escalating into war.
Well, I
They're in denial?
I don't know. I could have told you that having these big credit card companies exiting Russia is going to push Russia toward China. Why wouldn't it? Like, China is very advanced.
Well, but hold on. But it's like, is it really going to escalate the conflict between...
I don't know if it will, but it will ostracize them from the rest of the West, you know?
I think the issue is if there's no tie between the Dragon Bear, the BRICS economic bloc, and the Western economic blocs, the chance for conflict is greater because now there's no cooperation at all. Like, the cooperation helps. It's like, listen, let's not go to war, man. Like, I got a big company. I'm buying that new super yacht. Chill out, man. Russia goes to war. They invade. And then it's like, what do you do now? Now they start seizing super yachts. All these companies are shutting down in Russia. And I think it may be, in all seriousness, I think a lot of companies expect the United States to be involved in a war with Russia. And that's why this is happening.
I think you might be right, because before the show, I was like, I was a little bit wound up about this earlier. I was like, how is it that these companies can make this unilateral action against Russia? It's as if they're independent companies or countries, treating Russia as a foreign enemy. But Tim was telling me that it's against the law to do business with these kinds of enemies.
It's complicated, but treason is when you provide support
material aid,
to an enemy of the United States. So specifically, if the United States was at war with Russia, and you then traded weapons to Russia, you'd be committing treason.
Unless you're a multinational corporation, then you have no allegiance.
Technically, that may be true, but if you're operating in the U.S., I think the U.S. is going to be like particularly brutal. Yeah. Like, come on, like, let's be real. If someone in the U.S. was actively selling materials to the Taliban, the U.S. would have before.
Like, sure if Henry we gave them a bunch of weapons or something?
No, that was Obama who did that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the Taliban, but ISIS for sure.
Historically,
when the government does it, they get away with it.
Henry Ford sold vehicles to the Nazis for years.
Before the war?
Yeah, leading up to the war.
And then stopped.
I don't know the actual when he stopped, but I would imagine.
See, I
would imagine, during the war.
That's the thing I'm looking at. I'm like, why are all these companies, are they really virtue signaling, or are they concerned that if war breaks out, it will be difficult for them to immediately sever ties and they don't want to be on the hook in any way? I don't think, like, right now, if the U.S. was like, we hereby declare war, well, it's Joe Biden, so he'd be like, come on, man, we're declaring war on Russia. Come on. Actually, he can't do it. Congress has
Congress,
to do it. Right. But, I don't know, he might, and then they might be like, no, Joe, stop, you can't do that. I don't think they're going to start arresting executives from these big companies because they're operating in Russia. They would be like, you have 1 week to cease all operations. But it is disconcerting because one could certainly lead to the other. And I'm wondering if these companies cutting off from Russia, they're washing their hands of this economic, I'm not going to pretend like Russia is the biggest part of the economy of the world or anything, but they're certainly cutting themselves off for a major source of revenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if they're worried that war, well, maybe it's simple. Maybe I don't got to overthink it. Maybe they just fear war might break out between us and them, and better safe than sorry.
It's very confusing to me because to me it looks like our country is weakened. So if we were to potentially go to war with Russia, to me it looks like we wouldn't lose, just based on like how culture's been kind of going in a certain direction for like the last couple of years. We don't look very strong. So
but you're saying we would or wouldn't lose?
Like I think we would. Well, it looks like we would based on how
it appears that way.
It appears that way.
I agree with you.
I have some feelings that the American military has some nasty weaponry prepared.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I hope you're right.
Is this a poker game? Like they're making us look weak?
Yeah.
It's 4D chess.
Sun Tzu.
Yeah, that's right.
When you are strong, you make your opponent look weak.
Right.
But I think the reason the U.S. could lose, well, I don't know if I agree with you that they would, but could, because we're so divided. with gas prices reaching record highs. Yo, we were in Central PA this weekend. Diesel was like $5.50 and gas was like $4.50.
Yep.
Crazy. So when you see that, we're already in this hyperpolarized country where everyone's still constantly fighting. You've got the establishment pushing their narrative, saying Trumpers are evil and all this stuff. One of the things that precipitates civil war is rising cost of food. Wheat is up 68%. That freaked me out. There's this viral tweet where someone was like, this is not oil or a meme stock. This is wheat. And it's like going straight and then spikes, which suggests demand. The expectation is supply will not meet demand. So buy it, they're buying it now, expecting the price to skyrocket, causing the price to skyrocket. That's scary because food's already insanely expensive.
Yep.
And now get this. With Russia and the U.S. at odds, and look, Visa and MasterCard. So what? What happens when we stop importing fertilizer from Russia, which we are a major importer of? I'm sorry, did I say export? What happens when we stop importing fertilizer from Russia?
Right.
Food's gone.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, COVID may have been, in terms of food shortages, a hiccup compared to what we see now. Food prices through the roof, food shortages and gas prices, and you've got a recipe for disaster. People are going to start screaming for Donald Trump because they're going to say, Trump did not get us into any new wars, gas prices were low, food was abundant, unemployment was low. I'd rather have the president who says no war and fix America than Joe Biden and his international whatever.
I feel like Trump sailed us into the iceberg and then Biden got on board and took control.
How did Trump sail?
He was just
us?
printing. They were just, the economy was like the best it's ever been. We just keep the debt just keeps going up and up and up and up. And he's didn't repeal the Federal Reserve. He had John Bolton on board. His sister got him to bomb Syria. Like it just his status quo. His daughter.
Yeah.
You status quo. But it just felt status quo.
You could say that Obama did that, and Trump.
Yeah, this whole time, none of them have changed course. They all had a chance, and none of them have done it. Well, the Federal Reserve is sinking us.
Listen. If have you ever been on a cruise ship?
No.
Those things are so impossible to move. So let's say you're on this cruise ship that's been sailing this way for 60 years, and you get 4 years to try and turn it around, and you make some turns, and all of a sudden the economy is doing better. You get your troops out of Afghanistan. Trump did some stuff.
Also, if he tries to turn the ship, they got guns, and they're like, "Don't turn the ship, sir."
Yep.
Right. That I agree with.
Yeah.
So I do feel like Trump did what he could. I do feel like Trump in many ways is kind of a bad dude. I think he's a generous guy. You hear the stories about how he's giving his staff all this money. I've heard stories directly from people who work at his hotel, like he just gives them $100 bills.
Yeah.
So there's good things, there's bad things about him. I think he's kind of an arrogant dude, but I think he did some good things that he genuinely wanted to, help this country. The problem is Joe Biden gets right back in and course corrects, and then we go sailing, head first into Ukraine. How is it? This is amazing. The Clinton Global Initiative is coming back. Have you heard this?
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
No.
5-year hiatus. Okay.
What?
Under Donald Trump. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a bad thing? I'm looking at you guys and
Not
looks
sure.
like a bad thing.
It's not that.
Clintons, come on.
It's not that, in my opinion, we can talk about the Global Initiative or whatever their operation is. It's about that when Hillary Clinton loses, it goes defunct. And then Donald Trump comes in. Joe Biden comes back in, and now they're kicking everything back up. It's that when Donald Trump gets elected, no war in Ukraine. We had the Eastern separatists. We had the 2014 regime change in Ukraine. We then had Eastern separatist conflict since then. But Vladimir Putin did not invade Ukraine during Trump's presidency. What the establishment says, the left Democrat types, is that, because Trump was deferential to Putin and giving him what he wants. And I'm like, that's kind of an extreme way of saying Donald Trump avoided a war in Europe, which if we're trying to avoid World War III, then I don't necessarily see anything wrong with what Trump was doing if it prevented war. You know what? I'll put it this way. When they say that, I'm like, so you're saying that everything we're seeing now in Ukraine could have been prevented? That there was something that you thought was worth all of this death and destruction? That's kind of crazy to me. Because under Trump, we didn't have that. But as soon as Biden comes in, all of a sudden, Putin's like, it's time to go. I think the issue is the Democratic agenda, clearly at odds with Russia, clearly trying to use NATO influence to pressure Russia and put them in a continually weaker position, antagonizing Putin, which is bad because he's got nuclear weapons. Donald Trump wasn't doing that. Donald Trump often said, he's a powerful guy, man. You got to watch out, because he understood Russia was. But still, avoiding war, a good thing. Now we're at the point where Vladimir Putin not only sees the return of the Democrat agenda, but an extremely weak president.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny how the playbook has flipped here, because I remember in the early 2000s, it was the Democrats who were constantly being accused of being weak on terrorism whenever they tried to take any measure that would prevent warfare. And now, because Trump got through 4 years without starting a new war, and because we didn't end up having tensions escalate with Russia, we're told it's because he was weak by the same people who were accused of weakness, 15, 20 years ago. Wow.
It's kind of crazy to think that The View, who was it? Was it David Frum? I don't want to accuse the wrong person of saying this. But to be people? Like, Donald Trump was appeasing Putin, that's why he didn't invade. And I'm like,
didn't he threaten to nuke him?
Donald Trump prevented a war with Russia?
Yeah.
That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's kind of a good thing.
Well, and we were talking about this the other day. I'm not sure if this is just a Trump quote that we haven't verified, but didn't he say that he threatened Putin? He said, if you invade Ukraine, we will bomb Moscow.
He one-upped it, man.
Yeah.
The original story was that he said to Putin, if you take Ukraine, I'll hit Moscow. But then Trump himself, I guess, came out. You fact check me on this one because I saw a story. And he was like, I told Putin I'd nuke Moscow. Jeez, dude. That's not good. I don't like hearing those stories.
I mean, I hear you, but that's definitely not appeasement.
For sure.
Yeah.
And along those lines, I looked up if Ted Turner was involved with the Georgia Guidestones. There's no evidence. It's completely anonymous who did those things, but I don't know why his name's wrapped around. Talking about this democratic problem that we have, or this liberal economic orderish problem, I looked up American Express and who owns it. Let's do some math. So Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street own about 17% of American Express. But Berkshire Hathaway owns 20% of American Express. Who owns Berkshire Hathaway? Oh, 20% of Berkshire Hathaway is owned by Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street.
Huh.
So they own companies that own companies that they also own.
So that's not sketchy.
No, that seems perfectly
totally
normal.
normal.
It's beyond American democracy. It's beyond liberal and conservative at this point. It's an economic overthrow. They've been doing it so subtly, but it's so obvious now.
Yeah.
I just don't know who they are. The CEOs of these companies, maybe.
Look them up.
It goes beyond. It's beyond the front man.
You need to do a deep dive, Ian.
Where's the money at? What's up with the Panama Papers?
Oh, there you go.
Let's blow them open.
Yeah, let's go.
Wasn't there like a second release?
Yeah, I heard something just came out recently about it.
Recently? Wasn't the journalist killed?
Yeah.
Who was investigating
It's like
it?
the most dangerous thing, rabbit hole on earth is, but I mean.
You guys remember when that one dude who had that island with little girls on it died in his prison cell?
I remember
And
that.
then the guy who was working at them also died in his prison cell.
I remember.
And then the lady who worked with them got convicted of trafficking minors, but to who? We don't know.
We don't know.
So
to no one.
Yeah.
we can prove that you were doing this.
And then the
okay,
FBI
well hold on. Proving that they were doing it means that there was an exchange between two parties. So who's that party involved? Shh. Okay, if you're convicting this woman, Maxwell, that means that other people were involved. Shh.
Uh-huh.
You know what, man? Conspiracy.
It's consistently, I think, of Danton from the French Revolution, who was eventually executed by his partner Robespierre. And as he was being executed up in the court, he said, better to have been a poor farmer than to meddle in the politics of man. And I think this now, as we're doing this show, if I start naming names and really going deep on the Panama Papers and seeing, that's like putting a target on my face.
Oh, yeah.
One day we wake up and Ian's just not here.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
But if I don't address this stuff, how do you fix Earth? And help humans. You just got to let them fry themselves and then regrow from the ashes. I don't want to do that.
It's what they think they're doing. One day we all come back on the show and there's a guy who looks like Ian, but it's not Ian.
It's not actually Ian.
And he's like,
I know
hello
somebody.
Friends, I am Ian Crossland. And we're like,
I
that's
am
not
not
Ian.
a
Who's this
Fed.
guy? I am
I'm not a Fed.
I do not work with the World Economic Forum.
That's right.
I think maybe culture,
Swedish accent.
and business, is the way to try and fix Earth. Like Elon's building satellite internet. That's a good start.
Yeah.
Culture, you make people laugh with movies. That's a good start.
Didn't they actually reach out to his internet service to?
They did.
block?
They actually did that.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of stuff.
Oh, right.
Oh,
And
that's right.
Yeah, they wanted Starlink to block Russia, and he was like, nah.
He said, I'm a First Amendment absolutist. Sorry.
That wasn't the only thing they did. They also asked Tesla. They also asked Elon Musk to shut down Tesla vehicles in Russia, and he's like, no, absolutely not. And I'm like, if this was any other CEO, you have no guarantee. That
First of all, isn't that a core reason why I don't want to get an
exactly.
electric car?
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm out on that one for sure. That was crazy though. I was like, it's just some social justice warriors on Twitter. So it's like a serious.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.